All right, so hello. Thanks for having me. Today I'll talk about confidence and productivity for your database using Prisma 2, and we'll just jump right in. So my name is Carmen. I'm a software engineer at Prisma. I mostly work on the parser in the Rust team and also on the VS Code extension and its language server in TypeScript. Um, so the agenda for today is I'll first discuss the problem space of working with databases in Node.js and how Prisma can help with that. Then we'll take a closer look at Prisma and how it might be a solution, and also finish off with a demo. Yeah, so imagine it's 2020 and you want to build a web app. The first thing you need to think about is where you want to store the data. So most applications today are data intensive in the sense that the functionality they offer is based on their ability to store, manipulate, and retrieve data. So most apps rely on some kind of storage, typically in a database, which can be Postgres or MySQL or MongoDB. Um, and in the diagram, we have a typical architecture for a web app where the API technology could be REST or GraphQL. And the Node.js server might be a long-running Node.js server or a Lambda or serverless function, or even Python or Go. So what are the options here? You can have the highest level of abstraction and use backend as a service, like Firebase or AWS AppSync. And these handle a lot of the concerns for you, but require you to learn proprietary technology that are often not standardized. Well, you could also use self-hosted backend as a service like Hazura, which supports Postgres and also MySQL. And these are great if you're looking to purely build a GraphQL or REST API. Um, and probably the most common would be you just build yourself, you pick a database technology like Postgres or NoSQL. But the main point I'm trying to make here is that the database technology influences almost every decision about your application, which leads us to the main challenges in a Node.js ecosystem, which is working with databases in Node.js is difficult. And why is that? Well, we can separate it into three categories of tools. And by tools, I mean libraries to query and manipulate data, each operating at a different level of abstraction. So you could have raw SQL strings to higher level abstractions like SQL query builders and ORMs. And each of these approaches come with their own problems and pitfalls. For example, if you were to use a database driver um, like Node Postgres, you have the advantage of handling the results explicitly, but also it's a lot of additional work and it can be inefficient if you use overly broad queries, unnecessary clauses, or even have SQL injections. Um, you could also use the second one, SQL query builders, like Next.js, that operate at a level above database clients, and they allow you to write JavaScript code to manipulate and query data. But the thing here is that you have to have not only a good grasp on SQL, but also in addition to that, you have to know specific syntax or capabilities of the query builder. And the ORM, you can use that as well. Um, that's very programming oriented, but also comes with pitfalls. But if you're interested in a more in-depth comparison, there's a link here linking to a article from Prisma. So if you're thinking about the web app from earlier, you also have to ask yourself how do you want to store the data, and that's not a trivial question, um, because the amount of databases is exploding. You could use Postgres or MySQL, um, but if you use them directly with a native driver, you have to write SQL strings in your programming language. On the other hand, they are very well proven, um, but like I said, it's not feeling natural if you're working with Node.js. Um, yeah, you could also use a NoSQL database, the most popular one, MongoDB, where you can just use JSON. But here, it's hard to evolve a schema. For example, if you want to add or rename a field, then you would need to loop over all your data. And that's where Prisma comes in, um, making working with databases easy. So just something a little bit about Prisma. It's an open source database toolkit, and auto-generated and type-safe query builder tailored to your database. It currently supports Postgres, MySQL, SQLite, and just yesterday we released Microsoft SQL Server in preview. Um, it consists of three components, where Prisma Schema is the one combining those three components as a single source of truth, um, kind of like your database schema. All right, so you have Prisma Client. This can be used in Node.js and in TypeScript projects, including serverless applications and microservices. Then you also have Prisma Studio, a easy-to-use database GUI where you can edit and view data, but I'll also show that in the demo. And then you have Prisma Migrate. So if you want to change your database schema over time, you typically would have to use SQL files to handle those migrations. But Prisma Migrate works a bit different. You just have to change the Prisma schema and it will handle all the rest. But currently it's experimental, but it will reach general availability probably by the end of the year. So Prisma has mainly two values, well, first of all, it gives you confidence. You can have less errors when you're coding. You have type safety and auto-completion. And also this schema I've mentioned earlier. And it also is making you productive. You can query data in a natural and familiar way, making it faster for you, or you can write faster code. And you can also write less boilerplate tests due to the type safety. So how does it work? Well, first of all, thinking in objects instead of SQL. So every Prisma client call maps to a type, and the result is predictable ahead of running the query. And also working intuitively with relations. So fetching relations is probably a really confusing aspect when working with relational databases. But since Prisma Client has this Fluent API, it makes it really easy. Yeah. And then you have this database schema, the Prisma schema, acting as a single source of truth for your database. Now, just before the demo, I'll talk a bit about type error since I've mentioned it so many times. So a type error is when a value in an operation is of a different type from what the code expects. So here, getFullName expects a user object with first name and last name. And the problem is that with JavaScript type, with JavaScript code, these errors occur at runtime. So you have to run your code in a browser in Node.js or for your tests to actually discover these. Whereas if you're working with TypeScript, you can catch errors ahead of time. So you get these red squiggly lines making you aware that there are some errors in your code. And Prisma gives you the benefits of type safety at zero cost when you're using JavaScript. All right, so I'll start with the demo, but just tell you what I'll do there. We'll look at the Prisma schema first, and we'll create a Postgres database with Prisma Migrate, and also install and generate Prisma client, use it to perform some database operations like saving an entity and relations and also fetching those, and using Prisma Studio to explore the data. All right. So what I have here is the schema Prisma, which I've talked about a lot. The basic structure is you have user models, and each of these model blocks maps to a database table. So here, for example, we have a user model, a post model, and a comment model, which is for a blogging application, let's say. And you also have a data source where you define the connection to your database. So here, for example, we have a user can have multiple posts and can have multiple comments, and a post can also have multiple comments, and this relation here, where a user can have multiple posts, is represented by the relation field here. So what else we have? We have every row maps to a every row maps to a table column. For example, here the comment, and that's about it for now. We'll create a database now. So I have a Postgres database running with locally in Docker, and we'll just run the migrations. So we'll use Prisma migrate, and since it's experimental, we'll just use that flag here. And what this does is it detects that the database does not exist yet, and we can just give the migration a name. So let's say we'll call it Node.js meetup. Now a snapshot was taken and saved, and we can look at the migrations that are not run yet, but the database steps that will happen once I do that. So here we can see it will create these three tables with the fields that I just showed you. All right, so now we actually want to run the migration, so we'll just use Prisma migrate experimental up. Okay, so now it's run our migration, and let's open up Postgres CLI so we can have a look at the tables. Okay, so we can see that it has a comment, a post, and the user table. And we can also look at the actual schema. It's the user table. So here we have these three fields that matches the one from the schema. All right, so now we're done with that. We could have also used a new command, which is Prisma db push, and this acts like you would only have to run this command once and not run the migrate once. But this is if for prototyping, if you only want to have the end state of your database schema, I don't care about how this is achieved. So yeah, that's an alternative to that. But now we can actually get started with Prisma Client. So here we can see we have Prisma Client and Prisma CLI as dependencies. And yeah, as I told you before, Prisma Schema is the single source of truth for the database schema, but also for the client, so it's all type safe. And for that, I have to generate a client. So I'll just run Prisma generate. Okay. So here we just imported the Prisma client. And what we'll do is we'll create 2 users and with a couple of posts and fetch them. So this is, again, this is in a JavaScript file. So we'll start by prisma.user. And here you have a lot of different options where you can just scroll through them, but we'll use create here. Okay, so let's fill in some data. And here you already get the auto completion. So you can see there are a lot of optional fields, but really I have to set the email. So let's just create some random stuff here. We can also give her a name and create some posts here as well. So now we would have the option to create or connect to posts, but since we don't have any posts yet, we'll just create this. So we'll just add a couple of fields so we have something here. All right. Now we can just create another one. Okay. And one thing we can do here to make our life easier is we can add this TypeScript check and add it to the top of the file. And this will allow type safety here. For example, if we have a name and we just give a number here, we will get these squiggly lines saying you have to have a string here and not a number. So this all happens like in the JavaScript file. All right, so let's just run that. Because I've just read the comment here. Someone asked if Prisma forces you to work with Docker. And no, it does not. That's just what I prefer to use, but it works with anything. And also, what tech is it built upon? I'm not quite sure what the exact question is here, but Prisma uses the Prisma client, if that's the question, is written in TypeScript, and it uses engines in the background, which are written in Rust. All right. So yeah, so you can see we've created that first user, and let's create a second one to and connect to the first user. So again, we'll use that await statement and create a user. Again, pass in some data, and Yeah. Okay, so let's give it a name. Okay, and now with the posts, I don't want to create new ones, but I want, sorry, I actually wanted to have comments. Okay, so let's create a comment, and let's just type interesting. Okay, and this comment will have a post, and this post will link to the first one. So we will use the connect. I will use connect here, and for the ID, I will use the user that we created before. I did something wrong.
Maybe you didn't wrap the create section with play.
Sorry, can you? Oh yeah. Okay, I think that will be good. Well. Okay, I don't know what's wrong. Well, we'll just leave that up. I'm sorry. Okay, well, we'll just leave that out then. But I can still show you Prisma Studio, which we'll use to look at the data. We only have one, but that's okay. So we run Prisma Studio. It gets open here, and we can look at all the columns all the things that we created. So for example, that user, Jenna, we can also look at the posts. We've created these two. Yeah, and you can do all sorts of things here, like filter for data and everything. But since we only have one, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, so I'll just go back to the presentation. So, okay. All right. So in the demo, we created this new database schema using Prisma Migrate, or you could also use the Prisma DB push. But this was all done on like a greenfield on a new project. But Prisma also works on existing projects, and that's what's shown here. So in short, you still have to define a Prisma schema, but just don't add any models in it, just add the data source. And then you run Prisma introspect, and the Prisma schema will be created based upon your database. And then you just run Prisma generate, like I did as well. And this will give you all the type safe database access. Yeah. And that was it on my part.
That was very awesome.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for the comment. You have any questions? Okay. Okay, actually I have some. I actually tested Prisma a few months ago, I really like the documentation, and it looks like really, I don't know, like stable or good open source. It's open source, right?
Yes, it's open source.
So very stable. I actually have some concerns. Like for example, Prisma trying to handle a lot of drivers like or engines like MongoDB, which is NoSQL, and also Postgres and MariaDB and MySQL in general. And from my experience, packages or open source projects that are trying to do that, they are fail in some point because they are like each one of these databases or at least NoSQL and SQL, they have a very different approach in how you do things and how the queries should look like. So how Prisma handle this differentiation between the database and even in SQL itself, there are a lot of differences.
Do you mean how Prisma handles the differences between MySQL and SQLite, for example?
Yes, because the approach is sometimes can be different, and to expose it with one API, okay, of functions or one methodology, it can be cumbersome or even problematic. I don't know. I saw some projects that they trying to handle both SQL and NoSQL databases, and just both don't work. Okay, and how Prisma succeed to to solve this problem. If you encounter, man, maybe just me. I don't know.
Well, first of all, like NoSQL is currently not supported, but it's in the plans. But about the SQL databases, well, in the background, Prisma uses these Rust engines, and they, depending on which Prisma client command you send, they act differently depending on which database you use. So, for example, in these engines, they have different ways of handling these client calls depending on which database you use. So it's not like all these calls are just randomly thrown at the database, so it like would fail or anything. So I think so far it's been working really well, handling these different, like the ones that we support right now, and so I don't think there are a lot of issues about that. But also, Prisma is moving very fast. So, like, we have new features and improvements every 2 weeks. At least that's the goal we set ourselves. So, I guess you just, I would just suggest giving it a new try. And if there are any issues, you can always raise it in GitHub, and we'll like check that pretty
Okay.
regularly. So
Thank you very much. We have more question here from Tal Olik. Does it give migration functionality like some frameworks do?
Well, currently, at least I'm not aware of a tool that can handle migrations currently like that. So I don't know what he's referring to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry about that. I can't answer that one.
Just open your mic and ask the question if you want.
basically an example of a framework. Just I don't know, take like a simple thing like a PHP framework, for instance, like Laravel. Then Laravel has functionality whereby you write scripts and you run those migration scripts to amend the database. So does Prisma have a way to write like a little script to amend the database as opposed to dealing with the database directly?
The way I think about it is Prisma tries to not have like you would, in this case you would have to write a script for the migration just for that, but Prisma is trying to move away from that, and so you don't have to even worry about the migration at all because it's handling it all by itself. So no, there's at least not that I know of anywhere where you can write a script which Prisma Migrate would pick up.
All right. And my second question is, does it have a DB seeding functionality?
DB seeding functionality.
I may help here because we just talked about this in another meeting. I'm also working at Prisma, so it's currently not supported, but we plan to add that I think soon. I think we're like thinking about how that would look like and what users exactly want. So if you have some specific ideas on how that seed command could look like, then feel free to open an issue or maybe comment on some existing issue or get in contact on the public Slack or something, because we are currently trying to figure out how that would look like, because it seems like a lot of people want to have a seed feature. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Another question from Mihai. Can you please compare Prisma with ORMs like SQLized type ORM? What's the benefit we have over those?
How about Luca? How about you jump in here?
I don't have so much experience using SQLized or type ORM, but like what Prisma is trying to do basically, that you have like your Prisma schema as a unique or like as a source of truth, so that you can either write your schema or get your schema from an existing database using introspect, and then generate a client from that schema completely on the types which are in there. And Prisma is just trying to make everything as type safe as possible and as easy as possible, and also the tools, like all the tooling around Prisma, like Prisma Studio or whatever. And I think like if you want to have specific comparisons, there's a lot of like articles, and I think someone posted also something in the chat. So I think if you want a specific answers, then you will have to like read docs, and we have actually some pages on our site which compare all those three. And yeah, they have a lot of similarities. They have a lot of non-similarities. So yeah. Hope that was good enough.
I have one more question. What about lazy loading? If I load the user, it will automatically bring me or fetch its post, or I can turn off this capability? How it's working?
Carmen? Should
I? Yeah, better you go with that one.
All right. All right. So what you can do is when you fetch a single resource like a user or something, you can specify what you want to fetch with that. record. So you can say like, give me a user and also give me 5 of that user's posts. And then it will fetch everything as like a JSON object. And the good thing about that is actually that it's not like when you would write raw SQL, you would get rows back. So like even for this nested data structure, you would still get rows back. And then would you need to like parse that somehow. And the good thing about Prisma is that you will get that back in one single object, and then you will have like a user object, and then there will be nested comments object, and you can nest it as deeply as you like. So you can like ask for a user and their posts and their comments and their likes and so on, and then you will get a huge thing back. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Okay, it seems like we have no more questionnaires, which is good. Wait a minute, last one. What prior knowledge would it be a great practice for beginner to know using Prisma? Like there is some prerequisite requirements.
So if you go to the Prisma doc website or to the docs, they actually have introductions for really everything. So if you really want to know about it, you don't have to have any knowledge about it beforehand, because there's like the docs are really extensive. So yeah, I don't think you have to know about a lot of stuff about it first.
Cool. Yeah. Also welcome Lily. This is our first meetup in our community, which is great. Okay, let's go to the raffle. Guy, do your magic.
Yeah, actually, we'll have a quick raffle, and then Carmen and Luca, if you can stay, and people will have a free talk with you and ask whatever they want. So your choice.
It's very late for me here because I'm in another time zone. So I'm probably going to take off soon. But like, if you have any questions, feel free to go on our public Slack. It's linked everywhere on our website, basically, and you can just ask in the chat there, or ping me directly if you want. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyway, for we're happy to have you here. I would say we're happy to have you in Tel Aviv, but we're online, so it doesn't count. But we're really invite you to come to Tel Aviv after this whole mess is.
It's on my bucket list.
I'm sure.
Exactly.
I'm sure about that. Okay, so first person will have a free ticket to Node.js IO, which will be. That man will be, or woman will be. Natalia.
Woo!
The second and the third will have a free intelligent license, and the first one will be. I'm doing the sound of the raffle. Nir Levy, the one, the only. And the second one. Amir Yerusata.
וואו, חיבטת את השם שלי.
Yurisata? Is that
יוריסטה.
Yurista? Okay. Thank you everybody for joining. I can see that Carmen is still here, so feel free to talk to her.
Cool. Thank you, Guy. Actually, I had more questions to ask, but I didn't want to ask too many questions, but we'll ask them now. What about more advanced features like unit of work or identity map? If you are familiar with, like they are in your roadmap. Sorry about my bad English and also accent, but I'm talking about unit of work and identity map, which both can play really nicely together. And I don't think they exist in any current ORM or client or DB client in Node.js. They exist in entity framework and such, but not in Node.js.
Can you repeat the two things you mentioned again? Because I was just writing some comment and didn't quite get.
I'm talking about unit of work and identity map. If you're familiar with, and if this is in your words.
I think, like, I'm afraid I can't give a specific answer here. The thing is that I think we do want to have such features in place at some point, but I think you probably can't expect it anytime soon, because like we're really concentrating on like implementing the basic features of databases, which sounds very easy, but it's actually kind of hard, because we also like need to support all those features in Postgres, SQLite, MySQL, and then also MSS SQL or whatever it's called, like the Microsoft stuff. Because we need to support an enterprise at some point, and this is why we can't like care about those like advanced features, I would say, for now, because it would be way too much scope. And yeah, I think if you want it, again, like create an issue and then it's on our radar, but I'm afraid we won't have it anytime soon.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's for both things.
Yeah, I just didn't saw it in any other framework in Node.js database framework, so I thought.
Yeah, I think like at some point we may do it, because we want it to be much more than just a database tool, but like, for example, also like putting different databases and like more middleware stuff, and there's lots of stuff to do, but yeah, we need to do one thing at a time.
Thank you very much. It was a fascinating talk. I really like that, and also the tool back then when I searched for alternative for my current database setup really catch my eye. I see also you create or fix, I don't know, the transaction API. You improve it a little bit, which you are now let us do bulk operations to send.
Yeah, there's lots. Yeah, more things coming out.
Actually, were a big parity for me.
Sorry?
It was a really big gap for me to move to Prisma, but I see now your current solution now looks all right.
That's cool. Glad to hear that. Yeah, if there's anything else, just again like create an issue and then we'll see.
Okay. Anyone? Don't be shy, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Keep it coming.
How about cache? Does it have cache support?
Also not yet. I think actually we have quite a few people asking about that, but I think it's
there's a huge issue. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I actually don't have much context about it, but I think like we do want to have it at some point, but I think it's still a long way to go. So that like I think like one really good solution is that you could control cache from like with directives in the Prisma schema and like control what is cached and how long and all that stuff. But yeah, I think you're gonna have to do that manually for now, unfortunately.
Okay. And another question: can it play with Nest.js? Can I integrate it with it?
Yeah, you can. There's actually a whole page only about Prisma working with Next.js, and you can get the link and just send it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys. It seems like we have no more questions. So thank you again, Carmen and also Luca, for both of you. It was a great talk. I really liked it.
The bigger thanks to Carmen because she did the actual talk. I was just watching, basically.
But thanks for helping out.
Thanks for both of you, and thank you very much. See you guys in next month in October. The talks are already the